Hello, welcome to the John's Jam Sessions podcast with me, your host John. And it's been a long time coming, but the mighty Thomas Edwards has returned. Welcome back, Tom.
Thank you for having me, John. It's been a good few weeks, hasn't it? At worst, really, hasn't it? Yeah, it's been a while.
Been at least 10 episodes. The last one we did was our Josh era.
Well, I hope your fan base has tripled, quadrupled in that time.
Probably say it has, to be fair.
I've seen some of your stuff and listened to some of your stuff, and it's hitting to a range of topics.
This has been a long time coming, this episode, hasn't it?
It really has, yeah.
Doing this episode well back when we did like the Guilty Pleasures, the episode 8, wasn't it? It was that one.
Yeah.
We're finally doing it, and I'm looking forward to this one because it's more of a kind of going back to the basics. It's less based on specific topics or bands. It's more of a free, loose kind of thing. And today we're going to be talking about pet peeves.
I feel like this is a topic that everyone can have an opinion about this. Anyone that's listened to music briefly can maybe relate to what we're going to say, can maybe chip in with their own opinion, or if there's any pet peeves that other people have got that we don't bring up, it'd be really interesting to see what other people think.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I haven't heard John's. John hasn't heard mine, other than maybe we've discussed it over the years, through friendship and long nights out, conversations.
So you brought this episode idea to me, so do you just want to kind of give like what is your interpretation of a pet peeve?
So a pet peeve, just for clarity, something that just sort of gets on your nerves, maybe an opinion that you don't agree with, maybe a very broad and generalised thing that you feel like people believe that you may disagree with, things that get on your nerves to do with music. And I'm not talking about, say for a perfect example, Nickelback. Not my opinion, by the way. I love Nickelback, but that would be a musical pet peeve. I'm sure someone would say, Nickelback. No, that's not what this is about. It's more of a general thing, not like a specific artist, a specific band, a specific style of music. None of that. Just something about the music industry or about music in general.
Yeah.
Without targeting specific artists.
Yeah, pretty much the same for me. The same thing. A pet peeve for me is always that kind of thing, like that irritating thing where it's not the end of the world. It's like, well, I'm not going to ever listen to this again because of this. But it's kind of like, I hate it when they do that, or I hate it when this happens, or this bugs me, or that bugs me. So I think the best way for us to explain ourselves is to basically just get right into our lists, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's something you can't change. So, for example, if you had a pet peeve for it, like if it was like, I don't like listening to Iron Maiden, easily solved. I'm just not going to listen to Iron Maiden. And it's that simple. But these kind of things are, I don't like it, but it'll come up on forum. It'll come up in conversation with randomers. And a lot of these have kind of come up with the general public or people I work with who aren't really particularly musical.
Mm-hmm.
Just a broad demographic of people that you can't really avoid these kind of pet peeves.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to hear yours because I think with mine, just looking quickly over the list, with mine is quite a lot of them come from second-hand embarrassment. A lot of mine are talking about things that happen in songs or in music, and I'm always like, this again, why are they doing this kind of thing? So let's just get right into it. We'll go.
It'll be quite interesting to see.
We'll go me first.
Do you want to go first?
Second, yeah. Okay, right off the bat, something quite harmless, but a bit weird. Strange, distracting, off-putting intros/outros that don't even relate to the song.
Okay.
So, you have a song, and the song just plays out normally, and then the song ends. And then afterwards, there'll be like say if in rap or hip hop, for example, there might be like a skit, or there might be like kind of like studio outtake of like hearing them having a bit of chatter in the studio. One example I'm thinking of is one example. It's not the best song in the world, but do you know The Used? Like that emo band from the 2000s.
I'm aware of them, but I'm not familiar with the words.
There's a song by them called All That I've Got. And I think it's a jam. I love that song. But at the end of it, it plays like carnival music for like 30 seconds.
With no context.
Yeah. It's like like the song doesn't relate to that at all. Or I don't know about the music video because I've never seen it. But it just plays like like the merry-go-round, the horse, the fucking carousel music, and you're like, what's this?
There is no context.
You just got to immediately like jump to the skip button, and you're like, what? Fucking turn this off. Another example I think you would know about is, I think John Frusciante's done it in a few of his songs and his solo works, like the opening to Shadows Collide with People, where there's that kind of
It's like white noise.
yeah, and it
Yeah,
goes on for way too long, and it's just like
I think
I get you want to build up a bit of tension. I get that it's cool and eerie and setting an atmosphere, but to be honest with you, get on with it.
if you like, for example, I know the one John's talking about. There's a song called Carvel by John Frusciante, and it's the start of his Shadows Collide with People album. And that intro is like an ambient white noise, no context to it. It's a very catchy, almost poppy level song, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
And the entire, I think it's easily over a whole minute is just a build up,
yeah. It's like
and
something bubbling up in it. It's like
it's a load of effects that he's used. But if you were to listen to that song on its own, maybe in the context of the album as an experience, I get it. But individually, it takes away from the song.
yeah.
My head instantly, when you said that, jumped towards. I'm gonna. I don't know the exact name of the song, but it's an Avenged Sevenfold song, and it starts with orchestral, and then jumps.
Oh, is it A Little Piece of Heaven?
No, but
No, that one.
could use
Yeah,
that
yeah.
song as well.
Oh, I know. Is it the one that's like
It's it's off that album, but it's off that same album that
yeah,
Little Piece of Heaven's on. There's no context to it, and then okay, it's a lovely string section to start, but I don't think it's particularly needed.
no,
But I see what you mean. Yeah, if concept albums, I feel like that kind of stuff works on. If
yeah,
there's a story and yeah,
yeah.
I do agree. That's
There,
doing it for the sake of doing it
yeah.
is unoriginal.
It's like 9 Inch Nails. The song's closer. It's like 7 minutes long, but the actual track ends at about 4 minutes, doesn't it? And then you've just kind of
It's
got
just a
this weird
series of
yeah,
like
it's
background
it's stuff
noises.
like that to me. It's like I'm ready to skip the song now, or say with the carousel music, like it's like if that's on in the car, I'm gonna get a little red in the face and skip that immediately because they're gonna be like, well, what the fuck's
What's
this you're
this?
listening to?
Yeah,
One last example of this, I know you've already stated you're not the biggest fan. I Maiden. One of their albums has literally like a 2 minute intro of just this weird kind of, again, similar to the John Frusciante Carvel, just this like before it gets into this generic, just classic rock song, and it's like on Spotify, I think they separated the tracks, but on like the CD and vinyl and stuff like that,
it's
it's
just
one
one
song
complete.
altogether,
Yeah,
and it's just like I don't need this, but yeah,
it's
that's a pet peeve for
it's
me.
quite wacky that.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think a lot of things just doing it for the sake of doing it is it loses its meaning, doesn't it? When there's a lot of bands that do it and artists that do it just for creative. There's creative reasons why they're doing things like that. My musical pet peeve, one of mine, is, and I have this a lot in work with people that aren't particularly music savvy. What's your favourite? Like, what type of music do you like listening to?
Oh yeah,
My favourite style of music I love 80s music. Okay, what 80s music? Oh, just all 80s music.
yeah,
No, I'm not having that. Like, you can't say, "Oh, I like 90s music." Oh, I like 70s music. A decade is not a style of music. It's not a type of music. So you like 80s music, okay? So do you like Ride the Lightning by Metallica, or do you
I
like
know, yeah.
like a Virgin by Madonna? Is it Phil Collins? Is it REM? Is it Original Red Hot Chili Peppers? Is it Depeche Mode? Is it Kraftwerk? Grandmaster Flash? Like, there's so much you could cover, and it'll probably turn out to just like, I don't know, like Rick Astley
Yeah,
or something like that.
to
But
play.
by 80s music, by default, where do you draw the line? Cannibal Corpse, weren't they around in the 80s or something? Like, like,
Yeah, yeah.
so in theory, I just don't get it, and it's a very ignorant comment
Yeah,
for
yeah.
people that don't really listen to music
No, I
that
do.
say that kind of
I
thing.
do agree. I could play devil's advocate a little bit, and just with the 80s as a decade of music was so distinct with its kind of the kind of basically the just the explosion of synth pop music.
There's a lot
And
to
the
it.
alternative picked up a lot of synth, synth aesthetics and synth instruments. I can play devil's advocate, and when someone says I love 80s music, to me, I think, like you say, they love Rick Ashley, they love Just Can't Get Enough by Depeche
Phil
Mode, they love
Collins,
Take On Me by Aha.
yeah,
It's it's
a bit
it,
of Duran Duran and
it's that
all that.
typical stereotype 80s sound, isn't it? With
Yeah,
the
the
cute like beep
post.
beep 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 beep.
It was a mix of like post punk, and then there's obviously electronic music really started taking off more because there was a lot more picking up that
Yeah,
had hung over from the 70s with like your Giorgio Moroder and stuff like that. I understand that it was a brand new sound, but you can't say
you,
favorite style of music
you,
is a time period,
you
because it just my example there, and I will always stand by that. Is it Ride the Lightning by Metallica, or is it Like a Virgin by Madonna? Because
yeah.
they are not the same. Like, what's your preference? You can like both, but you can't define. Oh, I'll only listen to stuff from the 80s.
You threw me for a loop there because I thought you were about to say, and then to be this wasn't on my list, but we can throw it in now. What kind of music do you like? Oh, I like a bit of everything. You know what I mean?
This
Something,
is
something with a beat.
this is also on my list, so that's one
Yeah, all
down
right.
from
Well,
myself
there
as
we go.
well.
We'll just
Yeah.
roll straight
I
into that
what
one then.
what do you listen to? I listen to everything. Do you?
Yeah.
Do you listen to Aphex Twin? Do you, do you listen to Cannibal Corpse? Like, where do you draw the line? Again, and I understand what you mean. It's very, very samey. I listen to anything. I'm pretty sure you don't. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure there's a lot that would really send your head west. Venetian Snares. If you've ever listened to Venetian Snares, John, dear God, you have to be in the right frame of mind to listen to it. It's
Yeah.
glitchy, breakbeat, electronic. It's difficult to listen to. Very niche market.
Yeah, I think. Part of me thinks that, like, I don't want. It's hard to not come across snobbish when you're so invested in music, because at the end of the day, music's such a broad, universal thing that affects everyone in the world. But some people are more invested than others. So I'm always a bit like, I always do have a level of benefit of the doubt for people, and I always kind of like, I try not to get myself too worked up by stuff like that. But obviously, when they come out with stuff like that, and you're like, oh, come on, and then I try and push them
Give a
more.
little bit.
I'm
Give
like,
a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
what bands you're into and that, and like, oh, well, just any bands that are good. No, well, what's good? What is good?
A bit of AC/DC and a bit of Black Sabbath,
Well,
and
the
it's like
people I talk to, it's going to be like Lewis Capaldi and whatever's on like the top
that's
40.
fair. Yeah,
Ice Cream Van there. Don't know if
that's
that's going to pick that up.
yeah. I couldn't agree more with that one. That there is a line that you feel that the average person doesn't feel as strongly about music as, say, we do.
Mm.
Like, it's one of the most important parts of our lives, and it is to a lot of people as well. I'm not. It's obviously not exclusive, but and the joy of music is that it's for everyone.
Yeah,
But the fact that we feel so strongly about it, and it's almost difficult to fathom that other people
yeah.
don't feel as strongly about
Something.
music as we do.
Yeah, something of one of mine that'll come up later, and to add to that is the fact that although, yeah, okay, some people aren't as invested and don't go as deep. I think the thing is with music is it is very accessible. Like, it is very easy to find in this modern day and age. You can find whatever music you want, and it's kind of like sometimes like there isn't really that much of an excuse
Yeah,
when
to
people
avoid
say
it.
like, oh, like, I don't, stuff like that. But
It's
yeah,
never been easier to access music. You can pay what, £6 a month, and you've got basically everything at your fingertips. And then one thing that we never had when we were growing up, which the modern generations do have, is, and obviously the generations before us kind of on a similar level to us, was that if you wanted similar artists to what you were listening to, you just had to go and find it. Whereas these days on Apple Music, on your Spotify's,
yeah,
they all
algorithms, yeah,
they
yeah,
they follow your algorithms, and they say, oh, so you like listening to, I don't know, like AC/DC.
yeah.
Here's some similar artists, and that's fantastic. And it's never been better and easier to find new music and find more accessible things for
Yeah.
your palate.
We'll come back to that later.
But
But
I've got one to add, just
go
on
on,
the
go
on
on,
the
throw it in.
while
Shook
we're
head
on
in.
topic, that we were talking about. We feel like people may not feel as strongly as we do. There is a fine line there that goes into music elitism and gatekeeping,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is one of my pet peeves.
yeah,
Specifically, and I will say specifically because me and you have grown up around this, the metalhead, heavy metal community. So I went to Download in 2015. It's the only year I've actually been to Download, and it's almost become like a bit of a meme for me and a few friends. The Download community, while it's very friendly, very happy, and very accessible, it's also at the same time very inaccessible, and that if anything's not heavy metal music, it's almost cast away. And from what I've found personally, heavy metal fans are very judgmental and very quick to shut things down. I was part of that as a teenager. And
Oh yeah, you
so
were.
I can now see that from both sides of the
Yeah,
spectrum and say, yeah, I was part of that gatekeeping community, and I absolutely loathe the fact that I ever behaved like that when
yeah.
I was like 15. Music's music ultimately, but I feel like it's incredibly toxic, and a lot of it now is on community forums and things like that. And it's like, oh, well, if you don't listen to Gorgoroth, then it's all I'm using the heavy metal community
It's a good one
specifically.
to pick though, because I think out of many music, I think a jazz fan would love someone to check out some jazz. But
Yeah,
with the metalhead, it's more of a culture than just the music community itself.
yeah,
Funny that you mentioned download, because throughout the years, again, same as you, I've only ever been once, and I only ever went for one day. I'm very fussy about like lineups and stuff. Like, I
yeah,
won't go to a festival unless like the lineup is like near perfect for me. But I remember like throughout the years, lineups come out, and then there's discourse on the internet, and there's always like, I remember people getting really agitated that like, do you remember Pendulum from back in the day?
yeah,
Pendulum were playing download, and people, and My Chemical in 2007, My Chemical Romance, and there's been like revisionist history on My Chemical Romance
yeah.
where everyone kind of says, "Oh yeah, they were the best band ever." Back then, there was a lot of hate
They were
towards
Marmite.
them, and they played download, and they got
They
they
got
got
bottled.
tedded, they
They got
got
bottled,
bottled.
didn't
Yeah,
they? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
One
and
of the worst bottlings I think I've ever seen.
yeah.
I wasn't there, but I've seen the footage from terrible camera phones from
Yeah.
back in the day.
Avenged Sevenfold, a band that again nowadays is welcomed pretty much by the entirety of the metal community. I saw them support Iron Maiden in 2008,
Yeah,
and they were doing all right until they played one of their older songs at the end, which is more harsh vocals, more screamo.
yeah,
And because Maiden is an older fan base and they have their own levels of gatekeeping and elitism,
yeah.
they start bottling them. And they finished the song halfway through and walked off the stage.
That's awful, man.
That's
No,
amazing.
it's awful, but I find it specifically within the rock heavy metal community. I feel like almost, and this is a very generalized statement that I'm going to make. What I've noticed is that the heavy metal scene specifically has a lot of neurodivergence, like a highly neurodivergent fan base.
Yeah,
So they take a lot of ownership of this is our thing.
yeah, yeah.
We've been socially exiled because we listen to this
Yeah,
really niche music. This is our thing,
and I understand that. I
and
do get
so
that.
they're more coy about welcoming people
Yeah,
into that
yeah,
community. And that in itself is where you could argue that's where the gatekeeping starts. And it's nice that it's such a community that is tight knit, and that if you're in that community, it's fantastic. But it feels to me very immature, a very immature thing to do,
yeah.
to gatekeep. And a lot of older people do it, like you said, like old, like the Iron Maiden fan, I bring Iron Maiden up again, but like that kind of fan base.
Yeah, yeah.
You're an Iron
Totally.
Maiden fan, but you're not like that.
Yeah.
It's very specific niches in little communities
The thing
that
is,
are that.
again, that we lived this, and let's go back to school. Let's go back to about 2005, so about 2007. I remember all the contemporary bands at the time were like Trivium, Lamb of God,
Yeah,
Kill Switch Engage, stuff like that. I didn't really like them too much. Like I wasn't really into them. There was like a few songs that I pick out of them. I was a bit more old school, like Guns N' Roses, like Iron Maiden, and then I liked a lot of kind of like new metal as well, like Korn,
yeah.
System of a Down, them bands. I remember being
Limp
in this
Bizkit.
playground, in that little playground that we all used to hang out in on lunchtime in school, and I remember like people saying, "Oh, System of a Down," or like, did you ever remember the name New Breed? You'd be like,
Yeah,
"Oh, System of a Down is what New Breeds listen to," and it kind of be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
that's
Like,
a
what?
that became a put me down for people that were listening to bands that were regarded as not being heavy enough. It's like System of a Down, contemporary wise, are quite a heavy.
Oh yeah,
They're a rock and metal band, aren't they? Really.
yeah, through and through. But the
But
thing is,
when you're in
they're
that
more
community,
accessible than whatever
yeah,
Kill Children Incorporated, and
yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Gorgoroth
Like,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah, all
So
yeah,
people were like, no, that's they want to go deeper and deeper. Like, they really want. It's like It's funny, really, because it's like it feels almost in a way like you're listening to music that is bad on purpose, so you can say, I like this and this is
yeah.
good.
I'm listening to the heaviest stuff because I'm so hardcore. Is some berserker, and
Yeah.
it's yeah. It's very specific, isn't it?
Yeah, and then
And
again,
I'm not against it. Like I said, I've I've been through phases in the past where like I did listen to a lot of that stuff, and occasionally it's a lot less nowadays. But I do find myself going back to like Killswitch Engage and like Lamb of God, but
mm,
it's few and far between these days. And I do enjoy the melodic side of it and the technicality, the musicianship rather than the actual music itself.
yeah,
Like I don't, I'd say 90% of it I don't particularly enjoy listening to. Like whereas I get more of a kick listening to like some beautiful melody lines from Robbie Williams rather
yeah,
than
yeah.
listening to like, oh, have you heard the Palm Mutant from Lamb of God? And it's like, yeah, I appreciate it, but it doesn't sound as good to me as Robbie Williams singing Angels.
But go back to
It's what it is.
2006. Like I bet you in 2006, like when you were alone in your bedroom, you jammed out to fucking Robbie Williams. You
100%.
fucking loved it. But if you were in that
REM,
playground
Robbie
with
Williams.
all the lads that we knew growing up back in the day,
You wouldn't
and
say that,
you
no.
and they were like, oh yeah, I listened to like fucking whatever this to last night and that last night, and you were like, oh, I put Robbie Williams on. You would get terrorized.
100%, mate. Yeah.
And the thing, and to throw you under the bus a little bit, I had to be like a closeted My Chemical Romance fan in school
Yeah.
because they were despised by our like friend groups
It
and the
was not
community.
acceptable to say that you liked
Yeah,
certain bands like that. I remember I came out and I said I came out. It's like a coming out.
mm,
I came out while I was in school, and I think it was on my MP3 player. I had "I'm Not Okay" and
Helena,
Helena
yeah, Helena, yeah.
by MCR, and I remember people seeing it and going, "What are you listening to that for?" And it was like, "It's good songs, aren't they?" But you had to be under the radar with it, and as an adult, you look back and go, "Oh yeah, it's a really childish thing," but it's a big deal when you're a kid, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Big deal.
And just to end this, because we've really spoke about this topic a lot,
Yeah,
haven't we? But
elitism.
it is an important topic. A few years back, that Stranger Things, never watched it, never will. But remember when, obviously, like the soundtrack of the last series had, Kate Bush running up that hill
Yeah, yeah,
and the Metallica Master of Puppets. I was seeing loads of posts, and from people I know as well, like seething that them songs were going viral and getting enjoyed,
yes,
and they were getting mad because they were like,
yes.
you people used to bully me for listening to that. How dare you listen to that now? And it's like that shouldn't be the attitude you have. You should be like, finally you're embracing it. Finally you understand. Welcome. Let me show you more. You want people to.
I
End of
fully
the day, Metallica's a bad example because they're pretty very commercial anyway.
yeah, a massively commercial band, but I have to agree. I saw a lot of gatekeeping on social media when that came out with Eddie Munson playing. Was it Master of Puppets he
Master of
plays?
Puppets on that, yeah.
But a lot of people came out and was like, "Oh, I hate that this song's got popular now because of Stranger Things." It's like, no, you should enjoy that song got popular because I think personally, it's a very good song.
It's okay.
And I thought you'd say that. I think it's a very good song, and it's good that it's got a bit of popular airtime.
Yeah.
There's, in my opinion, and in yours, there's better songs from that time, but that's the one that was chosen, and it should be celebrated that a heavy metal song from the '80s, thrash metal song from the
Yeah, yeah.
'80s, made it into the mainstream.
Nice.
It's a big deal, isn't it?
It is. Right, okay. So my second pet peeve.
We're only on two.
Again, a lot of mine are short, sweet. Oh yeah, that's annoying, isn't it? Second one, live audience samples on studio tracks. That really bugs me out because it feels really narcissistic and it feels really like big-headed, especially when it's like a new album and a new song that has never been played to a live audience before, and they put the crowd cheering in at the end or like halfway through or like a little segment, or they'll make it sound like it's a live song or something.
Yeah,
And to me, it's like, so you just assume that you're gonna get like an applause off that. Like it just
yeah.
feels really big headed. I don't know. Whenever it's happened,
Why have they put that in
it
there?
really bugs me. Like you must have heard some songs that do that.
I have. I'm currently racking my brains to try and think of it. I can only think of one, which is off the Curtains album by John Frusciante. Again, I forgot the exact song, but it's towards the end of the album, and it sounds like it's live,
Yeah.
but it's not live. And he's never done it in any other song. It was just that song. And when I first heard it, I was like, oh wow, why have I got like the live version of this song? And it's not. It's not the live version. It's just
Yeah, it just seems
and I
bizarre.
just don't get it. But it's happened on a few songs. I can't actually think of any
Yeah,
examples, but
I'm sure
but
anyone
I can
listening will know at
will be
least
able to
one song
relate.
that's done that
Yeah.
because it's quite a common trope. It's not like a rare, obscure thing. Like
No,
it's
no,
been
it's
done
not.
quite a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, it's strange. I can't say I particularly dislike it. It's just something that, given the choice, if I were to make an album, a solo album, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, because
And
I
I
haven't got
don't.
that ego. I haven't got that,
No,
you
but
know.
I don't understand why. Even with an E, I just don't get it. I think
Yeah,
it, yeah, takes away from the sound. I no idea why they do it. Okay, so it's a bit of a different one. So I played in a covers band for a number of years, and I know John, you haven't played in a cover band. You've played in a band, but you haven't played in a cover band.
not
Um,
not full
so I'm
time,
not
no. But
sure
yeah,
you can relate to this one. But when playing a gig, audience members requesting certain songs, and believe me, there's a set of songs, and I think anyone listening that's played in a cover band will know straight away. And my say top two or three is Wonderwall by Oasis,
hmm,
Sweet Home Alabama
yeah,
by Lynyrd Skynyrd, Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi, which is funny because we actually used to cover that one, or anything by Coldplay
ugh,
would also be
yeah,
requested. But it's things like that that would always get requested, and I guarantee you, anyone that's played in a covers band will know those get requested.
yeah.
It's normally though Wonderwall and Sweet Home Alabama very specifically. Oh, can you play Sweet Home Alabama? Or and it's you feel a bit heartbroken that they're requesting
Mm.
such a mainstream sort of, oh yeah, anyone can throw that one out there kind of song.
That's kind of the problem in it. They're in the pub, they're pissed. They want to hit Wonderwall.
Yeah,
Like again, going back to what you
and then
said,
it's
and
it's
it
letting them.
doesn't want to come off snobbish, but there is like a basic. There are basic people out there who have a very vanilla ice cream taste of music, and you know the only songs they know is what's been played to death on like heart radio,
Yeah,
and the likes of that. Yeah, I understand that to an extent, but I don't have a lot of sympathy for you on the basis of if you're a cover band, it's like you're gonna have that audience, that's your job, and you're getting paid good money for it.
and I understand that. Good money is definitely a stretch, but
Yeah, debatable.
I think it
Better money than the
better money
original
than an
band.
originals. But it's that issue of letting people down. So many times people have requested things like I said, Wonderwall, Sweet Home Alabama.
So did you never just like stick it up and learn Wonderwall?
No, no, just out of stubbornness of like we shouldn't have to. We've got
Yeah,
we've got our set. We've got 3 hours worth of cover songs here.
yeah,
You're gonna know at least half of the set. Like it
yeah,
wasn't songs that were like obscure. It was songs that Stevie Wonder and
yeah,
like Bon Jovi, things like that. You're gonna know these songs, and it's letting them down and saying, "Oh no, like we don't play that one." Sorry, there's plenty of bands. There's plenty of open mic nights. If you go to an open mic night, you can either get up and play that, or you can request it. And a lot of bands that I know do play songs on the fly, and those particular songs aren't difficult.
yeah,
But it
yeah.
was almost
Of
out of
course, yeah.
principle. We didn't play
Yeah,
it.
I get that. Yeah.
However, I do remember one specific time. It was when I was in an originals band when I was a
Ooh,
teenager,
I wonder if this is the one I'm thinking of.
and I was in a heavy metal band.
No, it's not.
And I got asked. Well, me and the guys got asked. We were in a band that played pretty much like Killswitch Engage,
This was Edge of
Edge of
Mentality, wasn't it?
Mentality. So
Yeah.
we played like Killswitch Engage, Lamb of God, very heavy metal stuff.
And you looked the part
And
as
we
well.
looked apart, and then this guy came up to us and asked us, "Oh, can we play some Iron Maiden, and can we play some Judas Priest?"
Yeah.
And to people that don't understand, or people outside of that world, you think, "Oh yeah, well why couldn't you?" It'd be like asking Bon Jovi to play country or something.
Funny you said that, 'cause he did do a country
Did
album.
he do it? Well,
Yeah.
there you go. That shows you how much I know about Bon Jovi,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah. It borderline. It's in the rock genre, but that's
Yeah.
about as far as it
Yeah.
goes.
Going back to that metalhead elitism, isn't it, as well?
Exactly, yeah, yeah, and it's like, oh, we don't really play that stuff, mate. Like,
Yeah,
it's we do this. You're asking for this.
yeah.
Like, it's yeah, it specific, but
I've,
I guess if you're in live bands and you'll have experienced that.
yeah,
People listening will have experienced people going up and requesting, or sometimes rather more irritatingly, people going up and stealing the mic and singing themselves. Which I know some people find very very irritating. I found it way less irritating. I thought, you know what, you're here for a good time. We're in a pub.
yeah,
You want to sing, you sing, but don't expect this song to sound any good because you've just taken my microphone. But and I played a gig with one guy who got really, really irritated. I stood in for a blues band once for one gig, and
hmm
a load of drunken ladies came up and took the microphone off him and started singing, which I thought was hilarious because it kind of takes the singing job away because it's like, oh, I haven't got a microphone.
yeah,
But he was furious. He was
mm,
so angry. It was like they were interrupting his art,
yeah,
and I see it from both sides. But I was very laid back about that. But I know a lot of people
yeah.
that really pissed off.
I've got a few things to say on this. I've got a few opinions on this. So with cover bands, like I'm going to be honest. If I walk, I still go out. I still frequently drink. I know you don't.
Yeah,
But if I'm out on the razzle dazzle on the old ale and I walk into a pub and there's a cover band playing, I'm going to turn around and walk out because when I go out, it's more for the socialising. And if I want to hear some music I like, I'll try and find somewhere with like a jukebox
yeah,
or something like that. To be honest, and again, it's my take at the end of the day. I don't have a massive amount of respect for covers bands. I kind of just don't because after I did quite a few years in the originals band, and I kind of see them as it's kind of like selling out a little bit. And I will be completely honest. I've been open and trying to look for a covers band in and out over the years. But it's always kind of been one of them kind of give up mentalities going, you know what, I just want to play Sex on Fire in a pub, get a few quid and play my instrument and have a bit of fun. So that's the main thing. And then going back to, as you're saying, people stealing the mic, getting heckled, getting requests. Like, you're playing in pubs, people are going to be pissed. You know what I mean? If
yeah,
people are getting, like, it's one of them again, like, maybe it's my kind of elitism, maybe it's me being a bit gatekeepy. But if I'm, like, at one of my gigs as my original band, like, full band lineup, original band, and someone comes in and they're being too rowdy and they're trying to, like, invade the stage, I'd be like, no way that person needs kicking out. When it's a covers thing, it just seems a bit more of a fun, relaxed kind of thing. And if it's covers, like, it's again, it's not your art really. So it's kind of
yeah.
like,
I've got sort of 2 points to make on that one. The first was about the I as a musician still, and after playing in covers bands for years, I actively try and avoid when I'm out. If a live band's playing, unless I know them,
yeah,
I will avoid it. Which is counterproductive to obviously what I deem as
yeah.
entertainment.
It's just not for me.
But
It's too much noise, and you want to talk, and you
personally,
want to,
I'd avoid it. But the other take on that is that to say it doesn't take as much talent in a covers band, I think anyone can throw a few covers together. However, there is an art to being a good covers band. I've only ever seen a handful of them,
yeah.
but covers bands that really get it and really you can tell there's some incredible covers bands out there that do a wide array of things.
Well, let's talk locally. We have what is it? The Tone Junkie? Is it the Tone Junkies?
Tone Junkies, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. They've been going a long time, and like when I remember seeing them and thinking like, they were great. Like,
there's not just them. There's so many. There's
yeah.
so many. But it's an art in and of itself. It's just a different take on it.
For me, with all that, it just seems a bit of nature of the beast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if
It's
you're
like
gonna do it,
you're
you
in
know
that
what to
environment.
expect.
Yeah, you're gonna get them things, and
And
sometimes you've got to play Wonderwall.
I was part of that, and I went in and I knew what to expect, and I've seen a lot of things, but it's at the end of the day we were going in to make money, and we made
Yeah,
money doing it.
yeah, yeah,
Made music. We made music and we made money from music, so
yeah.
that was all we wanted to do.
No, it was good on that. We've not really talked about doing covers bands yet on this podcast yet, so it's good. It's great to get perspective.
Yeah.
Right, again, mine, little short and sweet one, based on music and songs in general. Great songs being too short, the classic, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Some
Yeah.
really brilliant songs, but they're only like 2, 3 minutes, and you're like, oh, why couldn't you make this out longer?
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
little add on, a little bonus to this. the classic, the fade out.
The fade out.
Yeah,
Everyone's done it, haven't they? The
yeah.
fade out.
And it's always when the band are playing at like it's really going off, and then like the solo's fucking
And
going
it
mad.
will fade.
Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd, perfect example. Just as the song's really picking up and really getting into it, it just starts going fading out into into silence.
And then you always think, but what do they do live?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't fade out live. You
It,
have to have a
it's almost
conclusive
like
end.
it's almost like a free trial, isn't it? And it's like, oh, if
Yeah.
you want to hear the full song, you should say,
You've
come,
gotta
come
you've
see
gotta
us
pay
live.
extra.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a strange one that. So recently, obviously with the riots going on in the UK, the specials have cropped back up again. With their Ghost Town was based from
Yeah.
the riots back in the 80s, I believe. And a lot of special songs are very short, really good songs, but no more really than like 3 minutes long. And you think, oh, like there's almost a lot more to have stretched from it.
Yeah.
So many songs. There's as well. I know, very one-dimensional artist. If you ever listen to Andrew WK,
Yeah, I know
he's
one song by Andrew
he's
WK.
almost
Yeah.
a parody.
Yeah.
A lot of his songs sound very samey. His songs are very short, but yeah, good songs. Not being as long as you want, but I guess that's a good thing that it leaves you wanting more.
Yeah,
To some
it is
degree.
really ultimately. I'm talking about ones that are like super short, and it's like, damn, why is this song just not a bit longer? Little Wing by Jimi Hendrix, love that song,
That is a really good
and
example of it.
I think that has both the sins in that it's too short, and it fades out.
Yeah, that's
It's like make that song 4 minutes.
great.
That is a great song. You know what I mean?
Great song. A lot of punk songs. I know Nature of the Beast
Yeah.
is
With my band,
very short.
we rarely broke 4 minutes in a track.
Yeah.
But the songs were kind of designed like that, where sometimes you hear the song and you're like, that just feels like it ends abruptly. Like it feels like you just didn't finish that.
And there's just no need for it to finish
Yeah.
so soon. No, I appreciate that. That's a really good pet peeve, to be honest. The next one, and I think John can talk strongly about this one. I've got a very specific opinion on it, and it's industry plants.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
so there's my take on it is that if it's good music,
It'll get out there.
if it's good music, who cares? Because
Yeah.
good any music getting out there is good, even if it's bad music. So long as it's out there, someone will listen to it, someone will appreciate it. It's still art, even if the very nature of industry plants is a business model.
Yeah.
There's even the argument. I don't think there's actually any proof to the industry plant thing. There's a lot of evidence
Yeah.
to the contrary, but I don't think there's actually any concrete proof. There's definitely no one that's ever admitted to being an industry plant. So for those that are unaware, an industry plant is what's regarded as a manufactured artist. So
Yeah. I think there are some prime examples of that. Yeah.
I've got a lot of examples.
Yeah.
The current one are The Last Dinner Party, if you've ever heard of them.
I have, yeah, and I saw the discourse on that. Like, I think people. So I did actually watch an interesting like video essay about industry plants, and I think the consensus of what they were trying to make out is industry plant is kind of like a derogatory term
Yeah.
to say, I don't like this. How's this got popular? Oh, they must have been paid the way to the top.
How dare they
But-
get famous so soon?
Yeah, but there is obvious examples of industry plants where they've been plucked out of thin air by, a big name or a big label, and One Direction, you know what I mean?
I mean,
Reality TV show that's very fake and very scripted and formulaic.
but I don't think they were ever regarded as an industry plant because they were so on the nose. They were put together
Yeah.
in front of a
So people
whole
don't
UK
get upset,
audience
that's
on
it, yeah.
TV.
People don't get upset too
There was
much about
no-
them. They don't get upset
There was
about
no smoke and mirrors
Yeah.
with that. It was here's the proof to it.
Yeah,
But it's more like, say, for example, I know a big one is 50 Cent.
yeah,
When 50 Cent came out, he came out of nowhere. Suddenly he was signed by Dr. Dre to Death
Yeah,
Row
yeah.
Records,
Yeah.
found by Eminem and all these things. And it's like, he hadn't released a thing and he was just signed to them. And it's like, that's suspicious.
yeah,
Lana Del Rey was a good example of one. She had previously worked under a different name.
yeah,
Had released music under a different name. Greta Van Fleet as well. They were signed to a record label, I think, before they'd released anything.
yeah,
And it's suspicious. And I get that. Lizzo as well. I think she was signed to a record company before she'd released anything.
yeah.
There's Billie Eilish Wet Leg. There's so many. Even the Darkness. I love the Darkness, but because their first album blew up so much,
Yeah,
they were regarded as, well. Why have they blown up like that when they haven't actually released anything else?
I'm conflicted on this
Sum
because
41, I think, as
yeah,
well, did a similar thing.
I'm conflicted because at the end of the day, is that not just a good example of their label doing a good job? That's
It's a
kind of
very
my
good
thing.
example, yeah.
If an artist or a band has been discovered, like 50 Cent for example, again, not the most knowledgeable on 50 Cent, but from what I'm aware of, he was discovered by Eminem.
Yeah.
And then he gave him a platform. I think that's different from but like One Direction of literally in the laboratory crafting this band,
Yeah.
crafting their music, and that's where it gets into like this debatable territory. Like, has Eilish, has Billie Eilish been created? Is as in music? From what I believe, is her music's been written by herself and her brother.
Yeah.
Is it not just the label seeing the potential in someone and going, "We will push that"?
You see, I've thrown names out there. I haven't at all suggested that I think they're industry plants. I've just gone with the popular opinion from what the internet has spoke to me
Yeah,
about and said, oh, these are who are regarded as top industry plants.
because
But
in this
Billie Eilish, I
modern
think she got
age,
famous because of
yeah,
her brother initially, didn't she?
yeah, yeah,
But obviously, she writes her own music, and like her music's really good.
yeah.
And it's, again, even if she is an industry plant, should she be discredited because her music is good and is written by her? I don't think so. And it's that argument of the gatekeeping of music again, saying, "Oh, industry plants,
Mm,
it's a negative. It's seen as a put down." And like you said, is it the record company putting out great marketing and the musicians themselves putting out this incredible piece of work that is done so popular beyond belief? It's shot
yeah.
beyond. Ed Sheeran and Lewis Capaldi, again, they the same could be said for them. Their debut albums, absolutely huge. While as like, and you wonder to yourself, how have their debut albums done so well? How
Yeah.
have their debut albums sold millions? There's got to be something else to it. Or do you know what? Their marketing department could just be really, really good.
Yeah,
And
see the potential in this person.
and
Also,
God forbid, the albums might actually be good.
yeah.
Which it's all subjective, isn't it?
There's a few things in the modern age, and one is that the internet exists, and anyone can become an overnight sensation
Yeah.
by doing anything. So I feel that can apply for music. If you've got a bop, a really catchy bop, and it starts trending, and people are using it in TikTok videos, you're going to blow up quickly. Again, the charts are very different these days, and there's plain examples of people cheating the charts and buying their own singles to
Yeah.
raise themselves up in the charts and the likes of that.
I don't think
One
that's
of
a
the
well hidden thing, is it? A lot of people do that.
oldest known industry plants that weren't known straight away but were kind of outed was the monkeys.
Yes, yes.
So I'm not going to say that industry plants is a myth and it doesn't exist, because I think it certainly does. But I think sometimes it's used as a bit of an insult to hurl at people
Yeah.
because you don't think that music's up to a standard that you, again, going back to snobbery and gatekeeping, are you just trying to be like, that song's not great, I don't know, you've got popular, you must have just been created
In the
in
lab.
Warner Brothers studios,
I think, is it people thinking, oh wow, they've made an album, it's got really popular. They're in it just for the business. They're not in it for the talent. They're not in it for the creativity. They're just in it to make money. Whereas, God forbid, for example, again, The Darkness, band that had been going for years and years, released their debut album. It sold millions, and people were accusing them of being industry plants because
Yeah.
it blew up. No, they're a very creative group of artists that
Mm.
just so happened to stumble on a few hit songs that went huge.
A good thing to that, though, is if you're a good band, you're going to have the longevity. So
Yeah.
there's been lots of bands that have come on the scene, blew up massive, and then they vanish off the face of the earth. I always joke about and call this guy like the prototype Ed Sheeran, because he blew up about 5 years before Ed Sheeran was massive, and then no one ever heard of him again. I'm struggling to think on his name, but what was it? Newton
Oh, right, okay. Newton Faulkner you're talking
Newton
about.
Faulkner, that's it.
I
He came out with that
absolutely,
song, Dream Catch Me.
I absolutely love Newton Faulkner.
Massive.
He's still
Dropped off
going.
the face of the earth.
He's still going. I followed his entire work for years and years, so he's one of my favourites from like 2007. And yeah, he released two amazing albums. His first two albums, I still think, were his best two albums. But he's still releasing music. But the last I heard of him was he was playing the lead character in the Green Day American Idiot musical
Mm.
because he's a musical
So
talent.
he's not like fell off. He's not off the face of the earth.
No,
But
but you
he,
don't.
when he exploded, and
His music was
like
on
you said, it
adverts,
fell
wasn't it?
overnight. I literally saw the advert for, he covered that song, didn't he? Like,
Teardrop, yeah,
Visible.
Massive Attack's
And then
Teardrop,
he did his Dream Catch Me. His album blew up. I owned the album. I thought it was great.
great album.
And then I just never heard of him again.
And he did the percussion on the guitar with his
Yeah,
hands
that's what I
on his
mean.
acoustic
He was like
guitar.
the prototype Ed Sheeran.
He was the Ed Sheeran before Ed Sheeran, but I
Yeah,
think again you could argue with the selling out theory. I think Ed Sheeran was potentially
yeah. He
more, more,
definitely chased hits.
more
Yeah,
willing to
yeah,
commercialize himself than Newton Faulkner was. Newton Faulkner was very much staying within his own creative boundaries and playing his own game that he wanted. But yeah, that was my take on industry plants anyway.
yeah. Interesting one, isn't it?
It really
Um,
is.
again, going back to the music. A lot of mine are basically the music. Albums being too long. I know my last one was that songs being too short, but for me, I think the perfect album length is about 40 to 50 minutes, 12 songs. I think once you're going into 13 plus songs, you've got too many songs on that. And I would challenge anyone to throw an album at me that is over 13 songs that doesn't have at least one filler track on it.
Some
Back in the day, old school, we're talking Black Sabbath, we're talking Iron Maiden once again. The output was massive. It was an album every year, but these
yeah
albums would be about 8 to 9 tracks, and there will be filler on these tracks. But I think of like Paranoid by Black Sabbath, Volume 4 by Black Sabbath, just amazing albums, short blasts. And it's still got some
yeah
long songs on it. It's still elements of prog almost in them albums, but they're a blast, and it's over, and you're like, oh damn. I'll put another Black Sabbath album on.
yeah
And then, as time's gone on, obviously the music industry's changed. Output of albums isn't as frequent, so the longer the wait, the more you kind of expect from a band. Me and Mike at the moment are preparing to do a Limp Bizkit episode, and I'm going to be honest with you, we are fucking struggling because their albums are all an hour long.
there's a lot from
Regardless of
Limp
what you
Bizkit.
think of Limp Bizkit, but does a Limp Bizkit album need to be an hour long?
Half an hour is fine of Limp Bizkit, isn't it? Half
Exactly.
an hour is
Exactly.
fine. But I see what you mean there. There's the argument of the output. So, for example, like you said, late 70s, most artists from that era were putting out an album a year.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump to Funkadelic and say the Funkadelic Parliament were putting out an album every year, but it was 8 songs, 9 songs, 10 songs max.
Yeah.
And
tell me now you like them early albums more than you like their later stuff.
100%,
Exactly.
mate. And things like that. So to jump forward, I'm going to use Paramore as an example. They released, obviously, Paramore's back catalogue is fairly extensive, and there's a lot of songs on their albums.
Yeah.
Going back, there's a lot of songs on their albums. Their latest album that they released, This Is Why, is about 30 minutes long, and people have waited about 5-6 years for that album.
Yeah,
For half an hour's worth of music, which give or take half an hour. It was a divisive album, I'll put it that way. I wasn't a fan.
No. I've yet to listen to it, to be honest.
But
I wasn't very keen on
I'd
what's coming out from it.
recommend listening to it just as a so you can have a take on it. But I wasn't impressed. But bar about 3 or 4 songs, I think it was a misstep. But if you're a fan, a big fan of that artist, waiting for so long to get half an hour's worth of output,
Yeah.
whereas bands from the
conscious.
70s, artists from the 70s, putting out an album every year with arguably more than half an hour's worth.
Mhm.
I do agree. I think about 10 to 12 songs is perfect
Yeah.
album. Just under an hour. Just under an hour is enough to maintain attention, maintain focus. even some of our favourite albums that we share, John, I'm going to throw the Chili Peppers out there again.
Hmm.
Some fantastic albums. Californication, by the way. But how many songs are on them albums, John?
Yeah, that they
15 plus.
there is sometimes an exception to the rule, but now you're throwing the Chili Peppers. I was just about to say, to contrast to the argument of the Paramore waiting a long time and not getting too much. We waited a long time and we got well too much.
We
We
got
were
overwhelmed.
overfed and we were overwhelmed. We got two albums, both consisting of like what 16 to 17 songs.
No music, in my opinion, can be seen as too much music. However, when you're releasing albums as full albums, when you are blatantly listening to what should be considered B-sides,
Yeah. Well, there's
it's
a
it's a bit
philosophy.
insulting, isn't it? Really,
There's a philosophy I always keep in mind, and that's quality over quantity every
you say
time.
that all the time, mate. But in the case with Return of the Dream Canteen from the Red Hot Chili Peppers,
That album was too
that
long. That was a perfect
it
example
was
of an album
a
being too long.
double album that just didn't need to really be thrown out
No.
when it was thrown out there.
Have you got any more, or are we on the rest of mine now?
Right, I have got two more.
Go on, roll now.
Okay, so my second to the last one is pet peeve being overproduced songs and or albums. So to take away from this, as the music industry has gotten more advanced, as technology has got more advanced, people are encouraged to tamper more and to change the dynamics of sound. You wouldn't look back and go, all right, the Sex Pistols, as manufactured as a band as they were, industry plant, you wouldn't think their stuff needs to be produced heavily because it's relying on a raw punk sound.
Yeah.
The Ramones, I know there's one Ramones album that is regarded highly as being a very overproduced Ramones album. But artists and producers over the years learn the craft, people learn from each other. Production is the best it's ever been, and it will only get better as technology and information circulate around how to do things. But it can come to a point where it's too much. We mentioned it in, I think, our last podcast we did, John. Blink-182's latest album, massively overproduced.
I was going to throw that at you.
I can bounce out with another one that you've done. Chinese Democracy is widely regarded
Two
as
prime
being
examples.
far too overproduced, and it doesn't sound like Guns N' Roses anymore.
No.
Your favourite band, not Bring Me the Horizon, released an album called That's the Spirit in, I think, 2015.
They sound very clean and all.
Produced for a mass market, and it was very well produced, which was not in line with anything they'd previously done.
Yeah.
You can do it in a different way, and I'm going to throw out Radiohead. They know what they're doing behind a mixing desk. They can produce music really, really well, and not once has any of their music sounded overproduced. There's a fine line. But to jump on the Blink-182 album, John, it was produced by one of their band members, the drummer Travis Barker.
Yeah,
and you could hear.
Trying. Yeah, he's trying to get into that game. He's produced a few albums now, and he worked on the last Avril Lavigne album. He worked up with Machine Gun Kelly, and they have and them albums have a very clean, very, as you say, overproduced sound, which works for the likes of Avril Lavigne and Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah.
But one thing I'll say as I've got older and I've got more like knowledgeable and experienced is producers are the unsung heroes of music.
100%.
They are always the man behind, the man behind the curtain. And if you look at bands' discographies and you kind of pinpoint this is where the band got worse, look at who was producing them albums. Sometimes bands part ways with long partnerships with producers, and it gets instantly noticed.
Yeah.
I was looking at, going back to Blink-182. I didn't actually know this, but for a while they were working with the same producer on their best run of albums, from like Enema of the State all the way to the self-titled. And then unfortunately he died. And then the albums after that have not been produced by him. Very noticeable difference.
Yeah, and you can hear, can't you? Those things. Arguably, the California, the Blink-182 released in 2016, I think it was. The first one without Tom DeLonge, that was argued as being too overproduced.
Yeah.
And so it's been pretty much a consistent argument in their last three albums. But it's like I said, it's not exclusive to them. There's been so much said about that. And what I have noticed on that front is that not many artists are accused of being overproduced instantly.
Mm,
It's almost a gradual process that happens over time. So those artists, the three that I mentioned there, so Guns N' Roses, Blink 182, and Bring Me the Horizon, all three of those have started and done several albums prior, and then their later stuff, it's almost in line with modern production
yeah,
or modern production techniques that makes the music sound over diluted and
yeah,
really mechanical almost. It's
yeah,
it's it's
yeah.
really strange. And
That new Blink album really is. Like, I really think that is a tragedy because I think all, like, well, not all the songs. I think it's a good album. It's a very good album. I've listened to it quite a few times. I think there's a lot of great songs on it. But my God, it just does not sound right. Like the amount of filters and effects over the vocals to the point that you can't even distinguish who two very distinguishable lead
they
vocalists.
don't sound the same
They
normally, do
blend
they?
together because it's all just so, like, the auto tune's been, like, and it's all been cleaned up, and yeah, you're
Oh,
right. Sometimes
they've
you
obviously
need,
used autotune for effect rather than practicality, but I do feel like it was maybe misplaced. And obviously, it being produced by a drummer, the drums were what stuck out to me.
yeah. Well,
The
they use auto tune live now.
the levels were just felt really wrong to me.
Yeah, yeah,
The drums were massively overshadowing
yeah. Guitars
everything
were
in the
getting drowned
mix.
out. Yeah,
It was strange,
yeah.
but
Compare that to the last one Tom DeLonge did, Neighborhoods, which I think is a really well produced album. I think that's great. But yeah, you're right. I agree with that. It's the classic, isn't it? It's the classic. You're watching someone, like, remember when you were a kid and you used to watch Art Attack,
yeah.
and he's doing something. You're like, oh, that looks really good, and then he just puts a big red blob somewhere, and you're like, oh, you've
Yeah,
ruined it.
what have you
What
done?
have you done?
You've
And he
done too
starts,
much.
yeah, he starts doing too much. It's a very human problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a very big
When do you
problem with
pull back
artists.
and
Pull
say,
back. Less is more. Quality over quantity.
but you can look at that and say, like, so for example, cartoons these days, like, cartoons aren't cartoons anymore.
Yeah, because we've gone
It's
from,
all the
it's
CGI kind
digital,
of
isn't it?
digital
Yeah,
stuff.
CGI. Yeah.
And is that where the average music production's gone? Is it just a changing of the guard? Is it a sign of the times? I don't know, but
I think life is always like a pendulum, isn't it? It's always, once something goes too far one way, it's going to snap back and go the other way,
yeah,
and people are going to start getting tired of this, especially with AI on the, well, it's pretty much here, isn't it? As things go on, there's going to get to a point where people are like, you know what? I want to hear something raw. I want to hear something more gritty. I want to hear something more human. So I'm always, like, more optimistic that things will there's only so far the willow can bend before it
yeah,
snaps back into
I
place.
agree with that. It's you can only push it so far, can't you,
Yeah,
before it stops sounding like music?
yeah. I'm going to cut some of mine because we've got a lot of time out of this, more than I thought, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my last three, which are more kind of more entertaining you ones, and obviously you've got one more as well. So my one member of the band carrying on the band to sell tickets and albums.
Oh, yeah.
So
There's been multiple cases
multiple
of that
cases.
happening.
We've mentioned it before. Guns N' Roses, Chinese Democracy, Axl Rose at the helm, using the Guns N' Roses name to create basically what was a solo album.
Yeah.
A more modern case of this, which I saw, like, I was seeing, like, clips of and seeing, like, people talk about it. It was, like, kind of agitating me, and it's a band I've never listened to, by the way, but it still agitated me. Panic at the Disco. Brendan Urie, his name isn't big enough to carry himself, and he can't be Brendan Urie, so he's still using the name Panic at the Disco, and he's released. I think the last album he did was like just absolutely critically and commercially panned. It was awful, and it's like you're dragging a legacy and a name that was not just you. It was It was a collaborative effort. You're just dragging it into the ground because you can do a tour, and people, going back to what you said, like with ignorance and how that's a pet peeve in music. I knew people that went up to me and went, "Oh, Panic at the Disco are touring," and I'd be like, No, they're not. Oh, they are. We should
the
go see them.
the
No.
frontman's touring with a new band.
Yes, if you go and see Panic at the Disco, you will not be seeing Panic at the Disco.
Yeah,
Now I was seeing TikToks of people literally putting clips up of the gig going, what the fuck's this? I went to see Panic at the Disco. Why are they playing this shit? I've never heard this shit in my life.
was it just him on the stage, or was
Well,
it
yeah,
the
him and the
full
fucking
band?
band,
Is
yeah,
that
but it was like him playing the stuff he's released since all the band members are gone, and people are like, "What's this?" I thought I came here all dolled up in me eyeliner and me piercings and that because I wanted to wear I write sins, not tragedies, and he's playing some just absolute gash.
that?
It's like,
But you see that happening quite a lot, don't you?
yeah,
And that's a perfect example of using music as a marketing tool and as a business rather than as a creative outlet.
yeah.
There, so that brand, what's his name, Brandon Urie, Brendan Urie,
Brandon Yori,
using the name of his band as a ticket selling machine
yeah.
rather than a, if he wanted to do it off his own back, do it as a solo artist.
That's it, but they know they need like once you go solo, besides the odd exceptions of solo artists that have absolutely blown up in the years, you know that you're going to be taking a downgrade. You know, you're not going to be playing the arena, you're going to be playing the academy, and I think sometimes it's a bit of greed. Another perfect example, and it blew up in their faces recently. 30 Seconds to Mars, Jared Leto and
Oh,
his brother. That's all it is.
is that all it is now?
Yeah, anyone who
I didn't
worked
know that.
on the Kill or all the stuff you knew from back in the day aren't there anymore.
It's
He
just
tried to do a big arena tour a few
wow.
years back, and I saw the people in the comments of like, when it comes up on Facebook going, "Oh, let's go see." It's like you're not going to see 30 Seconds to Mars,
Yeah,
and them gigs
you're seeing
massively undersold.
the Leto brothers.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were trying to give tickets away last year. Or was it this year even?
It was earlier this year.
In the
Yeah,
UK
I
because they
remember.
didn't sell, did
Yeah,
they? There
but
was entire sections of the stadiums that
he's walking
weren't
out
sold.
into the streets. He was walking out into the
And
streets with his guitar
they're
to try
big,
to plug his.
huge worldwide name. Jared Leto as an actor as well, just as a personality,
Yeah,
huge worldwide name. I know that happened with, is it Amy Lee from Evanescence? That happened, didn't it? And she carried on the Evanescence name, but
yeah,
the band were not Evanescence. It was a totally different band, and it was the Amy Lee show. Don't know how familiar you are with the band Breaking Benjamin.
yeah. I'm aware of
They
them.
did a few
Yeah,
early 2000s bangers.
yeah, yeah.
Again,
Diarrhea Jane.
they stopped for a long time and they released more albums, but the lead singer, uh, I think his name Benjamin Burnley or something like that.
Mr. Breaking.
Mr. Breaking, he broke bad, and he basically started with a completely different band, and it's
Mhm.
just him.
Yeah, yeah,
It's his band,
yeah,
and it's sad to see that things like that happen. Yeah, I understand how that'd be a pet peeve.
yeah.
That's definitely a pet peeve of mine.
Do you want to give us your last one? And I'll give you one more as well.
Yeah. So it's a kind of a general one. Just people not understanding the true value of vinyl, and again, that's a gatekeeping thing. I know
Well, I don't
I
know why I
didn't,
didn't think of this,
I
but
didn't for
it's
a
one
long
thing I'm
time.
very much an arsehole about. If I see someone post a picture on Facebook going, "Oh, I'm putting this, I got this record today," and they're playing it on the little suitcase thing,
Oh,
I'm going to hurl abuse. I'm going to hurl abuse.
on a speaker that's already built into the
Yeah.
record player that's not good. I fully understand that people.
Luckily, you
It's a
had me to guide you
I did,
to the
and
correct.
I needed that because I didn't know where I was going, and I fully understand the value of it. I recall a very specific example of, you can call us gatekeepers on this topic. We could talk about vinyl for a long time, I
Mhm.
think.
Serves an episode at some point,
It
doesn't it?
definitely does. I was in HMV, which is not a great example of, a record store.
Yeah.
If you want to go to a proper one, go to a local independent one, or
Rough trade.
Rough Trade is hands down favourite. There was young girls, which is absolutely fine. Like, if you want to get into vinyl, fantastic, get into vinyl. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
But there was clearly no understanding of the concept, and they were buying the discussions they were having was, is this the one? Is that the one? Yeah. Is that what it's meant to look like? So they've obviously, judgmentally of me, I don't think they
Yeah.
ever bought a vinyl before. They didn't know what they were looking for. And it was, I believe they picked up a Harry Styles one and an Ariana Grande one.
I'm surprised you didn't say Taylor Swift.
No, it wasn't Taylor Swift, I don't think.
Yeah.
No, I think I'd have remembered
Because
that,
there's a
wouldn't I?
whole thing with vinyls
Um,
altogether that we could get
it's
into on a
great that
separate
people are
day.
getting into. It's great that the world has come back round, and the concept of vinyl is appreciated, and there is a
Yeah, so
difference
one people's going to
to
vinyl.
those that understand it and those that listen
Yeah,
to it properly, like us,
yeah,
and the vinyl community. The analog sound is different. It's a warm sound. There's a heartbeat
yeah,
to the music when you listen to vinyl compared to listening to it on a streaming service and digitally, and it is a massive difference. It takes a bit of practice to hear it,
yeah.
admittedly, but it's subtle, very very subtle. It's a difference between smoking a spliff and taking some CBD oil. The difference is,
Yeah,
like when you take some CBD oil and you go, oh, I can't really feel it. It's very subtle, and you need to know what to listen for.
yeah, yeah.
But the value of vinyl, I cannot overstate enough that more people need to do it.
Mm, definitely.
And I know you feel the same.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As you say, it's one of them. I eventually got talked into getting your vinyls,
Yeah,
and I'm doing it with Mike at the moment, and he keeps going, "Oh, I know, but it's dead expensive." And it's like, it's sometimes in life, we are in a cost of living crisis. Money is hard. Everyone struggles, but for me, it's a lifetime investment. If you get yourself good equipment, good gear, you're sorted for life. The record player I've got, that's all the way that's an original from the 80s.
yeah,
It's been serviced a few times.
vintage.
It's been Frankensteined a little bit with bits and bobs, but it's still in perfect working order. I'm not the richest man on the planet, but I have a reason. It's what you spend your free money on, isn't it? You know what I mean? You don't have to go out and buy thousands of pounds worth of vinyl. Just get yourself a record every month as a little payday treat,
Once a month.
and your
It's
collection,
£30.
yeah,
£30 on average for a
your
vinyl, isn't it?
collection will grow over time. It's something I definitely recommend. And like as you say, going back to kind of like the abuse of it and not understanding it, it's the buying an expensive item, which is a vinyl, and playing it on something that will not even be, never mind, not even like give you the same experience, but is well known to break your vinyls and damage your
Yeah,
vinyls, and the same vinyls there, so people will kick off and go, it's vinyl, not vinyls. Your
yeah,
records, your LPs, whatever you want to call them, cheap, nasty, light needles and styluses break your records.
yeah.
People out there, please listen to me. Like I do get a bit snobby, and I do like when people put things on Facebook. The first thing I say is, get yourself a better fucking record player. Don't be playing it on that fucking piece of shit.
And it's
But
there's a level of
I've
ownership.
remembered what I was going to say.
Sorry, John.
It really,
There's a level of ownership. I'm just going to cut in again. There's a level of ownership
I'm going to let you finish.
to record players and people owning vinyl, and it's when you listen to a streaming service or a song on a streaming service. Not only is that a digital reproduction of that song,
Yeah,
it is when you sign up to a streaming service, you're not paying for the music, you're paying for a license to listen to the music. When you buy a vinyl, you have got that, you own that.
yeah.
No matter what, at any point, an artist or a business could take down, for example, the entire back catalogue of the Beatles
And in this,
off every
yeah,
single streaming service, and if you do not own that, you may never be able to listen to it again. With vinyl, I have got, for example, let's say any album at all. I can listen to that album so long as I still have a record player and speakers. I can listen to that as it was intended, start to finish. No one is changing it. No one is remastering it. No one is tampering with it. That is mine. That is my property. That is my belonging exactly as it was printed and pressed.
and in this modern day, not to get too political,
Yeah.
but in this modern day of censorship and erasing things from the past that are not appropriate or
Cancelling.
PC,
Yeah.
cancelling stuff like that, the stuff that's online digitally is not safe. People think songs are problematic and are bad. They'll get taken off. They won't get put on the reissues. If you own it on vinyl, even if it is a bad song and it has some naughty words or it's a bit, it's a bit iffy, that song's still there. I'm very sentimental about history and preserving history, and things should be, as you say, as the artist intended, as it was intended to be. I like the preservation. I'm very much into physical media. I'm like that with films as well.
Yeah.
And it's more films that get damaged by this modern kind of culture war than music, to be fair. But What I was just going to say before is with vinyl, and I know we're just putting our dicks into vinyl at the moment, like,
We
but
really
the
are.
thing is,
I wouldn't
and
recommend that, by the
I
way.
might eat humble pie here, and I might be completely wrong, but the reason why I don't think there'll ever be a cassette revival or a CD revival is because vinyl is always and will always be the best way to listen to music,
And that
sound quality wise,
for
whereas
reference to
CD is compression tape, awful. MP3 very compressed.
anyone listening, that is not just opinion.
Yeah,
That is borderline fact
yeah,
that it is an analog sound. It is the analog way to listen to
yeah.
music. There's no bells and whistles compressing the sound. The dynamic range cannot be matched.
I mean, there's always nostalgia, and people. I know people out there are collecting CDs. I still have all my CDs. I've even during lockdown, I started collecting cassettes. I've got a nice little cassette collection, but I've put them into a tape player.
The
It's
novelty,
fucked. They're
the novelty,
fucked. They
aren't they?
don't
Yeah.
last. They don't survive.
No.
I've got records that are well older than me, than my entire existence on Earth. That all right as that at the start, but when the music's playing, it sounds absolutely perfect.
And it's something that you can't explain until you're a part of it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I managed to, people's interpretations of it as well. Like I managed to pick up this was a massive find, an original release of Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells from the 70s.
hmm
And that has obviously been remastered in the years gone and tampered with and compressed down. I've got the original vinyl. I got it for £1 in a charity shop because, again, there's no
yeah,
quality control with it. People didn't know its worth, and it's a prized possession.
yeah,
And it's an incredible album for anyone that's ever listened
yeah.
to Tubular Bells.
We'll pull a stop on that because I think we will do a vinyl episode in the
I
future.
feel like we need to.
Last pet peeve. This is more comedic and a bit of fun. Sex samples or making sex noises in songs. There's one band in particular that are absolute criminals for this, and it's Guns N' Roses, and it's Welcome to the Jungles, and there's a song in Appetite for Destruction, Rocket Queen, that has recorded Axel shagged someone and recorded it in the studio, and it plays over the song, and it goes back to the beginning of the episode where I said like second hand embarrassing if that
Yeah,
comes on in the car, full on just sex noises,
you're looking
woman
away,
moaning,
aren't you?
giving it the old porno wail. And there's a song that's like pretty much universally agreed to be the worst ever Guns N' Roses song called My World at the end
Yeah,
of Use Your Illusions 2, and that has like the set. I'm not going to replicate
yeah.
the sex
Please don't.
noises. And one last example I can think of at the top of my head, there's a Marilyn Manson like interlude song on one of his albums, which is literally just him and someone else having sex, and
It's
also the music videos are heart shaped glasses as well, and it's just like it's so cringe and it's so like, oh, look how cool, and then
look how
having sex,
look how
ooh,
edgy
yeah,
we are.
oh,
Yeah,
woman moaning, oh,
yeah. It plays into the male dominated,
yeah. I'm
yeah,
sure it's in plenty of
world.
hip hop music and
Oh,
rap like
yeah.
that.
It's widely done. There's ones with like there's a lot of arguing tracks in hip hop as well with
Yeah,
partners
yeah,
arguing, and
yeah.
then yeah, it's cringe. It's
It is,
cringe,
yeah.
and I don't think there's especially in the modern world. I don't think there's really a market for it anymore. Is there?
No,
Um,
no, it's not. It's not very. Yeah,
it's not
it's not
very
very up to date
palatable
with
to
modern sensibilities, is it? Yeah,
2024 would look down unkindly on you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But that was that was basically it. It happens enough for it to be an annoyance.
Yeah,
It's not just been a one off thing that's happened once in
there's
history.
so much of it. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, we really got through a lot, man.
The meat and
Um,
potatoes of that there. That was a long
yeah.
conversation, wasn't it?
So if you've got any pet peeves, let us know. I'd like to do follow up on this episode eventually one day. Submissions of pet
I was
peeves.
gonna say if we can get like a comments edition, that'd be quite nice.
Yeah,
If anyone's got any pet peeves that
yeah,
they want to chime in with, we can discuss
yeah.
that.
If you got any pet peeves about the podcast, like because I always say obviously, a lot, write in and tell me about that.
If
Please,
you don't like our accents,
yeah, don't like our thick Scouse accents. Write in about that. But if you like the show, please follow it on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube. Please give us feedback. Please rate it 5 stars on Spotify. I'm losing the plot now.
you can't lose what you
Tom,
never had.
you got anything else to sign off with?
No, just support vinyl from your local records shop, and yeah, if there's any pet peeves that we haven't brought up, I'd be very interested to hear
Yeah.
them.
Or if you strongly disagree with our pet peeves, let us know. This has been the John's Jam Sessions podcast. Thank you for listening. See you next time. Goodbye.